Gnarly Chicken Garage, got a '07 200 XCW. Buddy of mine just bought this bike, and I am going to rebuild the forks on it tonight. Some leaky fork seals. Gonna rebuild the carb too, or at least give it a good cleaning. There's the new parts all laid out. Start taking the front end apart. See what it looks like. Yeah, leaking a little bit. Seen worse, but definitely needs a rebuild. Okay, that's some pretty nasty fork oil, wouldn't you say? Dripping out of there. There it is, right there. Okay. Now the fun part. Separating these bad boys, which is always exciting and messy. There they come, and there it is, separated. Everything out and the new kit reassembled back up in the outer fork tube. So new bushings, new seals, new rings, everything's greased up. Inner tubes, outer tubes are all cleaned. Got some oil ready to go. Got my air gauge set here to 110. Should be, I think stock on these is around 120. I'm gonna set it for 110 for an air height for him. So probably end up dumping, I don't know, probably 300 or 400 mils of this in, and we'll start bleeding the air out so that I can get a proper measurement with his oil height. Okay, so the fork is back together. We've got your outer tube here, and of course this is your inner tube. The inner tube sits right about here up in the outer tube, and the top bushing sits on that. Then your lower bushing, and below that, the other pieces on the inner fork tube, your seal, your concave ring, which sits on top of your seal, remember? And you drive that up with the fork seal driver, which we did. And then you put on your, there's a snap ring inside this dust seal, then the dust seal, and then this outer snap ring here. So that's all back together. The push rod is back in the cartridge. The spring is up there. So what I'm going to do now is I need to fill this up with oil, and then I'm going to bleed it. Now this is an 07 fork, KTM WP, open cartridge fork. They're all the same. My 500, my 2013 500 was the same fork, open cartridge, very easy to rebuild. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump some 5-weight oil into here. I'm going to fill it up right to where my finger is, and then I'm going to push down on this and bleed the air out of it. You do not want to get fork oil down into your cartridge or into your push rod. So just dump it down the side until all of the oil comes right to the top of the outer fork tube. Probably take about 400 or 500 mils. You can hear it filling up there. There we go. That's all the way to the top. You can see where the oil is, right to the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this up, and I'm going to slide my hand on top of here, push down, pressurize it, and then release for the air to come out. Okay. You're going to do that several times. You hear the air bubbling. Now the oil has gone down about, I'd say 4 inches, so you're going to fill this back up again. Same process, don't get it down into your push rod. Fill it up to the top again, and repeat. And the idea is you want to continue to do this until the oil does not move down any farther, and that is continuing to take up volume. Keep refilling it to the top, or close to the top, and keep repeating until the oil does not fall any longer. Well, there's no air bubbles on top of the oil. There, I can see it now. There we go. So the oil has stayed at the same level that I just put the last little bit in. Ooh, there was a big one. And there's no air bubbles up there. That's good. A couple more times. Good. A thing with the oil level. Some manufacturers don't tell you how much oil to put in the cartridge lick, okay? KTM does not tell you how much to put in. I don't even know how much I did put in right there. Half a liter, maybe 6, I think. Yeah, exactly 6. The important thing now is to get your air height set. And your air height gap is basically the oil is right here right now, okay? Can't see it, but it's right in here. You want to drop this oil down to, let's say fictionally down to here, which is, I'm going to say 110 millimeters. That's the remainder is going to be your air gap, okay? The manual, I think, calls for around 120 mil. I'm dropping this down to 110, so it's going to have less air and more oil, so it's going to be a little more stiff, if that makes sense. More oil, less air, stiffer. Less oil, more air, softer. My buddy's a little heavier than what the manufacturer calls for, which is probably 180 pounds. So the manual does say 120 mils of air gap here. I'm going to make it a little smaller, 110, so I'll give him a little firmer ride. I'm using the tool, so I have this set to 110. There's numbers on the side of it that will tell you the millimeters. I'm going to put this down in here. I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to suck the oil out till it gets air, and that will set this oil height to 110 millimeters because that's where I've set it to. I'm going to use my knee here. Suck some out of this here first. Probably have to do this twice again. Be careful not to suck it out enough so that you pull your plunger out. Push it back out, back in the jug. Okay, that's empty. Now I'm going to put this back in again. It's set at 110. And this time I should start hearing air. There you go. So now I know that my oil height, or air gap, I should say, is set to 110 millimeters. Again, I don't know exactly how much oil is in that. All I know is that you want to set your oil height is more important. So that's in there now. So now what I'm going to do is take the cartridge. I'm going to cycle this up and down a few times. And the idea here is that you should have a nice, steady pull. Up and down. I'm going to repeat that bleeding process again a few times. Yep, good. Nice and constant. Good. Okay, push rod is in. A little bit of oil just splopped out at me there. I did that on the last one too. Doing a really good job of making this not a messy experience, because these can be freaking messy. All right, so now what I'm going to do is take the spring. I don't know what size this spring is, but I'll put the spring back in. Pull up the cartridge. Dump your spring down in. Let it drop, and then grab onto the cartridge again. Okay? And then pull down on your spring. Grab your flat 22 mil wrench, slide it on top of that upper nut, and let the spring go back up and preload onto that. Kind of have to make one of these. That's just a 22 mil that's flattened down some, so you can get it inside this plastic nut on the cartridge. And that holds everything in place. Upper cap, fly biting me. So there's your upper cap bushing spacer, goes inside. Now you can screw this down onto the cartridge. You're gonna hold that there, and now you're gonna take your 24 mil and you're just gonna tighten this up using both the wrenches. Now you can release this guy, put him back up. Not a lot of preload on that spring, but anyway. All right, we're almost there. Now you can raise the outer tube and screw him into place. I'm gonna put this in the vise and tighten it. And give it a few compressions. Put your clicker back to, I dialed this out 12 in to full bottom. Put the clicker on the top back to where it was set. This is your rebound clicker. I didn't have to worry about the bottom one because I didn't take the compression mechanism out of the bottom of the leg. And that's it. Put it back on the bike. Okay, forks are all done, good to go. Everything's working. Now carb time. Take the carb out, give it a clean the jets. So I took the pipe off, did raise the subframe up. It was a little tight getting the carb out of the boots without doing that. So I just popped the muffler off and took swing arm and raised it up. Real simple on this one. So I popped that carb out now, disconnect all the lines and put it in the bin, give her a good washing. Okay, carb's all put back together. It's 11 o'clock at night. Gonna try to wake up the neighbors here. Fuel's turned on. Let's see if we can get this puppy started. It'll take a few kicks. Happy with that. 2 kicks. The other day it took about 10 to start. Sorry for getting so close to the camera. So carb's cleaned on it, and yeah, that's on choke right now, so sounds good. Happy with that.